Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, guys, I want to talk about some issues that another company was having. So I was talking to one of the owners of another company that's here in Florida, and there were some issues with sales and use tax and stuff like that. And I've opened up multiple businesses in my time, and I have an auto glass company that I do to pay the bills and to help start up the security company. So I know quite a bit about taxes and things like that. But this one kind of blew me away, and from what I gather, it's not just small companies, but the big companies are all paying sales and use tax. And if you guys don't know what that is, when you set up your business and you apply for your EIN, all that other stuff, and you get your reemployment tax, and you apply for that, they automatically put the sales and use tax underneath it. And when I did this and set it all up, I called the Florida Department of Revenue. I was like, hey, look, there's no sales and use tax required for this business. I was like, I don't understand why you're trying to collect taxes on sales and use when I'm not upcharging products, materials, anything like that. So sales and use tax is for that purpose. It's for buying and upselling, products. Like, for instance, windshields. You buy a windshield for $100 and you bill the insurance company $600. You know what I mean? That's what that's for, to keep track of that, and the government gets more money from you. That's basically what that whole tax deal is. And security, guys, I'm going to give you one big tip on how to avoid paying it. So when you set this up, guys, call them up and be like, hey, look, I don't do this. I don't upsell. I don't sell things. I don't need to be paying sales and use tax. When I called them, the lady was like, what is your business? I was like, it's an armed security company. She goes, okay, well, how are you selling your work? I was like, well, I'm not selling work. They're paying me hourly. And she goes, they're paying you hourly? I'm like, yes, we charge them an hourly rate, like as if I'm an employee, because I am. When they hire us, I'm a contracted employee. I was like, and my guys underneath me are contracted employees with W-2s. So they're paying us hourly. And she's like, okay, cool, no problem. I'll go ahead and, take care of this. I was like, listen, I need the reemployment tax, though, because that's mandatory. I was like, but just remove the sales and use tax. We're not paying that because we're not selling anything. We're not selling any products, nothing like that. So she went ahead and did that, and I haven't heard nothing about it. But on the other company, he didn't know that, and he was paying sales and use tax, and things got hectic like it does in security. Missed some payments, and then the state is coming after him for all their money and threats and all the crap that comes with not paying taxes. You know what I mean? And when I heard that, man, I was just like, Jesus God, I felt so bad, and I'm like, I wish I had known this, beforehand to make this video to maybe help someone else out. But I'm gonna put it to you this way so that you guys understand why we don't pay sales and use tax, and the bigger companies do. So the bigger companies, on their contracts that are all fancy and all that good stuff, they're gonna list an hourly charge. Then they're gonna list a vehicle, right? So they're gonna add the vehicle if they want a patrol vehicle. Then they're gonna add a supervisor's pay. Then they're gonna add a field pay and all this other crap, right? So they're adding all these things and software and all this stuff to this contract so they get more money. But in reality is they're not getting any much more money. Most of the time they're bidding less than we are, if not all the time, pretty much. But that's why they're paying sales and use tax, because they're basically renting out their vehicles on their contracts, right? So when you guys do your contracts, add everything into your hourly rate. So for instance, if a property is like, hey, I want you guys to have 2 officers, a patrol vehicle, and I want you to work X amount of hours. So you're going to add in, roughly, you want to stay in an hourly rate that you're going to get, obviously, the contract, because they're not going to go with you if you're too high. But you're going to stay in this average range between $20 to $40, depending on the contract, who the client is, how big the properties are, what all entailed is in, your duties for them. And that's it. You're not going to include the vehicle. You're not going to include that you're adding the software into the pricing. You can add that in the verbiage that this all includes this for 1 hourly rate, but you cannot say that you are adding it in as a product. When you add in, for instance, we use Activity Suite. When you add in Activity Suite software and GPS reporting software to that line item for money, you're selling that product to them, a part of your contract. So you're going to have to pay sales and use tax. When you do it hourly, you're not charging sales and use tax on labor. And that's the key word right there. When you talk to the Department of Revenue in whatever state you're in, say, how can you put sales and use tax on labor? You cannot. That's not what sales and use tax is for. I pay my federal income tax. I do all my deductions. I do everything the correct way, and this is not correct. I talk to my tax accountant. I talk to the person that runs my taxes for my businesses and my personal taxes, and she said the same thing. You only need sales and use tax when you're upselling and upcharging on products. So at that point, you know what I mean, you're losing that deduction as well. So if you put Activity Suite on that contract and you're charging a client $100 a month, which is what it costs to have this one specific software, you're charging all these other clients that, instead of having a deduction on I pay $100 a month, now you're owing more because you're charging more to cover that 1 month's bill on every single contract. Even though it's $100 a month for unlimited properties and unlimited clients and blah, 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 you're losing those deductions at that point. And then you're forced to pay sales and use tax because you're upselling that product. So I want to explain it to you guys in a more simple way. If you guys are going to work at McDonald's, you fill out the application, and on that one little spot that you hope and dream about that says, how much do you want to make, right? And you put, I want to make $18 an hour. Do you put plus tax? So I want to make $18 plus tax? No, you put, I want to make $18 an hour. So when you put $18 an hour, that company says, okay, fine, we'll pay you, and you work, you get your first check. They're taking your federal tax and your reemployment tax and state tax, if that's applicable to you, but they're not charging you sales and use tax on your hourly rate. You see what I'm saying? So why would the state do that to you? And it's simple. They take advantage of people that don't know better. They take advantage of small companies, small business owners who do not have the knowledge yet that says, wait a minute, this isn't right. So please, guys, do yourselves a favor. Change up all your contracts if you can. If you're already in that predicament where you started pitting, I'm charging you for the vehicle, the gas, whatever the case is, the mileage. You know what I mean? If you're adding all that stuff in there, put it in one hourly rate, which equals to the same price that your clients are already having to pay. And then that right there is going to fix that problem. Once you get caught up on your taxes, your sales and use tax, every month you got to send it, at least in our state, but I'm pretty sure it's every state. Then at that point, you can call your Department of Revenue and say, hey, look, this is what our business is. We only do hourly now. We're not charging clients for products or upselling anything. We need to remove the sales and use tax. And at that point, guys, they should kind of lead you to who you need to talk to get that fixed up, so that you don't have to pay that sales and use tax. And to be honest with you guys, paying it every single month, trying to remind yourself, late fees when you're late because you didn't pay it on time, and then fines on top of that, it gets really stressful, especially when you're working your business, you're working on properties, you're managing guys, you're doing your own payroll, you're keeping track of all your receipts, your maintenance, your vehicle's breaking down. It's too much to remember to pay sales and use tax when you don't even have to in the first place. So that is my number one tip for you guys. If you're opening up your own business, make sure that you don't fall in the same boat as my buddy that has his security company in Florida or any other state that you're in, because there's no reason to give the government and the state more taxes that they don't need and they don't deserve and they don't use for good use to begin with, right? Your roads still look like crap. The politics, the bull that goes on in our states, I mean, what's the point of giving them more money to just destroy where we live more? You know what I mean? So don't do it. Make sure you're not paying the sales and use tax. Change up your contracts. Straight, hourly, flat rate. That's it. You can't put sales tax on labor. So keep that in mind, and hope to God that you guys out there, some of you, I hope, have already done this. But if you follow the way that the big companies run things, hopefully you can switch it out, like I said, and put everything to hourly. Get all those other fancy things off of there. Straight, flat, hourly rate. It's nice, simple. Clients like it, and they approve it a lot faster because they're not breaking down numbers as much. But that's it for this one, guys. Thank you again for joining us. If you have any questions, anything on this, please let me know. I'm not a tax consultant by any means. I'm just talking out of my experience and what's working for us. State hasn't called me yet, so I think I'm doing something right. And it's been over 2 years now, so yeah, I mean, things are going well on that end. But definitely hit me up if you have any questions. Until then, guys, be safe, God bless, and watch your six.